A man charged a security checkpoint armed with multiple weapons, and he was taken down by some very brave members of Secret Service, and they acted very quickly.
Fired. At the White House Correspondents Dinner. Let that sink in for a second. One of the most heavily secured, most watched political events in the entire United States, surrounded by Secret Service, law enforcement, metal detectors, and some of the most powerful people on the planet. And somebody walked up and pulled a trigger. The name authorities are now focusing on Cole Allen. And in the next 30 minutes, we are going to break down everything. Who this person is, what witnesses actually saw, what the official story is getting wrong, and the one detail that almost every major outlet is completely glossing over. Stay with me, because this story goes deeper than a single gunshot near a hotel ballroom. If you are new here and you cover true crime, breaking news, investigations, and the stories the mainstream media rushes past, hit subscribe right now. This channel does not do surface-level coverage. And before we go any further, drop a comment below. Just one word. Where are you watching this from right now? Because people from over 40 countries are going to be watching this video, and I want to know exactly who is in this room with me tonight. Now, let's go back to the moment it all started. It was supposed to be a celebration. The White House Correspondents Dinner, held every year at the Washington Hilton in Washington, D.C., is one of those rare nights where journalists, politicians, celebrities, and power brokers all gather in the same room. Black tie, speeches, applause. The kind of event where security is so tight, so layered, so rehearsed, that most people attending genuinely believe nothing could ever go wrong. Donald Trump was there. The vice president was there, senior officials, cabinet members, and some of the most recognizable journalists in America, including, reportedly, Wolf Blitzer, who by all accounts was standing dangerously close to the moment everything erupted. And then, the sound. Multiple witnesses described hearing between 5 and 8 distinct shots, not a car backfiring. Not a noise from the kitchen. Shots. Clear, rapid, unmistakable. And the room? That perfectly curated, perfectly controlled room full of the most powerful people in America instantly collapsed into chaos. Here is where it gets interesting. And I mean genuinely interesting, not the version the 30-second news clip gives you. The shooting did not happen inside the ballroom. Think about that for a moment. All of that security, all of those checkpoints. The magnetometers, the metal detectors set up at the perimeter, were supposed to be the last line of defense, the place where anyone carrying a weapon would be stopped cold. And according to early reports, the shooter opened fire right there, near the screening area, right at the threshold between the outside world and one of the most protected rooms in the country, which raises an immediate and deeply uncomfortable question: how close did this person actually get? Because if the shooter reached the magnetometer line, that is not outside the perimeter, that is at the perimeter, that is the edge of the secure zone. And depending on the exact positioning, that puts the gunfire within potential range of the people standing inside. Wolf Blitzer, one of the most veteran journalists in American media history, reportedly said he was very close to the shooter when those shots rang out. Very close. Let that detail breathe for a second. Because in true crime and in security analysis, proximity is everything. Proximity tells you intent. Proximity tells you planning. And proximity, in this case, tells you that whoever Cole Allen is, he got further than he should have. Now let's talk about the response. Because the first 10 minutes after a shooting like this are absolutely critical. And what happened in those 10 minutes is a masterclass in both what went right and what went chaotically wrong. Secret Service moved immediately. Trump was evacuated. The vice president was evacuated. Within minutes, the room that had been full of laughter and applause became a room full of people face down on the floor, being directed by armed agents, not knowing whether the threat was contained or still active. Witnesses described being forced to the ground. Others were pushed into secure holding areas. Journalists who spend their careers reporting on chaos found themselves living inside it, crouched behind chairs, phones in hand, sending messages to editors and families at the same time. And while all of that was happening, then the information coming out was a disaster. Early reports said the shooter was dead. Then, correction, the shooter was alive. Then, another correction, the suspect had been taken into custody by police. Multiple agencies, multiple witnesses, multiple unofficial sources all saying different things within the same 15-minute window. This is what real breaking news looks like. It is messy, it is contradictory, it is frightening. And the people watching it unfold in real time, both inside that hotel and across the world, were getting a completely different story, depending on which feed they were watching. By the time authorities confirmed the actual outcome, suspect in custody, no fatalities, no injuries, the internet had already generated 3 separate competing narratives about what had happened and why. But now, we need to talk about Cole Allen. Because here is the thing about identifying a suspected shooter in a case like this. The name is only the beginning of the story. Who a person is, where they came from, what their history looks like, what their digital footprint reveals, and that is the real investigation. And that investigation is only just beginning. What we know right now is limited. What we do not yet know is enormous. And in a case this high profile, a suspected shooting at the White House Correspondents Dinner, one of the most politically charged events in the American calendar, the motive question is going to dominate everything. Was this politically motivated? Was this a targeted attack aimed at specific individuals inside that room? Was this a lone actor with a personal grievance? Or is there something bigger, something more organized, is sitting underneath what currently looks like a contained single-shooter incident? Law enforcement is not answering those questions yet, and in true crime, we have learned over and over again, the silence at the beginning of an investigation is often the loudest signal of all. Let me ask you something directly, and I want you to answer in the comments, because this is going to be one of the most debated questions on this entire story. Do you believe this was a random act, or do you think Cole Allen had a specific target? Because the location alone, the magnetometer screening area at the White House Correspondents Dinner, suggests a level of awareness about the event. You do not accidentally end up there. You do not wander into a security perimeter for one of the most protected political gatherings of the year without knowing exactly what that perimeter is. That is either planning or escalation. And right now, investigators are going to be pulling apart every layer of Cole Allen's life looking for the answer to exactly that question. Let's talk about what happened after the shots were fired, because the aftermath of this incident is just as revealing as the incident itself. Initially, in the immediate minutes following the shooting, there was actually discussion about whether the dinner could continue. Think about that. The instinct in the room, even after gunshots, was to ask whether the event could be salvaged. It could not. Authorities made the decision to fully evacuate. The dinner was officially postponed, and Trump, addressing the situation publicly, confirmed that law enforcement had acted, in his words, quickly and bravely, and announced that the event would be rescheduled within 30 days. A press briefing was promised. The Secret Service took full control of the scene, and the Washington Hilton, that iconic D.C. venue that has hosted this dinner for decades, became a crime scene. The United States Secret Service, Metropolitan Police, and federal investigators are now treating this as a major security incident. Every piece of footage, every witness account, every second of the timeline from the moment Cole Allen arrived at that location is being reconstructed right now. And here's the detail I promised you at the start that almost everyone is glossing over. In the initial chaos before the official narrative locked in, there were multiple reports, multiple witness accounts, and significant speculation about whether the attack was specifically directed at Donald Trump. Not at the event in general, not at the crowd, at Trump specifically. Now, to be absolutely clear, then those reports were unverified. They emerged in the first wave of confusion, in that window when nobody had confirmed information and everything was moving too fast to verify. The official position from authorities is that the investigation is ongoing and no confirmed motive has been established. But the speculation exists. It is documented. It is part of the public record of how this story broke. And in any serious true crime, analysis. You cannot simply erase that thread because it became inconvenient. You track it. You watch how the official investigation either confirms or contradicts it over time. Because motive, in a case involving a highly public political event, a named suspect, and the presence of the sitting President of the United States, is not a footnote. It is the entire story. Think about the bigger picture for a moment. The White House Correspondents Dinner has existed for over 100 years. It has survived wars, political scandals, assassinations, and social upheaval. It has always been treated as untouchable, a symbol of the relationship between the free press and American democratic power, protected by some of the most sophisticated security apparatus on the planet. And tonight, that sense of untouchability cracked. Not completely, not catastrophically. Nobody died. Nobody was seriously injured. The suspect was taken into custody. On a purely operational level, the security response did its job. But the fact that it happened at all, that shots were fired within range of the president, within range of the vice president, within range of hundreds of journalists and officials, is going to trigger the deepest security review this event has ever seen. Who failed? Where was the gap? How did Cole Allen get close enough? And what would have happened if those shots had been fired from a slightly different position, with a slightly different aim? Those questions do not have comfortable answers, and they are not going to go away. We are going to keep tracking this story as it develops. Cole Allen's background, his history, his connections, or lack of them, and the full official investigation that is now underway. Every new development, every court filing, every piece of confirmed information, we cover it here in depth without the spin. If this is the kind of investigation that matters to you, the real story behind the headlines, the questions that the 30-second clip never asks, then subscribe. Turn on notifications, because this story's not finished, not even close. And leave me your answer in the comments right now. One question. Simple. Based on everything you just heard, do you think Cole Allen acted alone? Yes or no? And tell me why. Because in cases like this, the public conversation matters. The questions people are asking shape what investigators have to answer. And right now, there are a lot of questions that still do not have answers. The Washington Hilton is locked down. The investigation is active. Cole Allen is in custody. And somewhere inside a federal interrogation room tonight, the most important question in this entire story is being asked for the very first time. Why? We will be here when the answer comes.